I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I love printing. Hey everybody, want to welcome you back to another session with me, Warren Werbitt, also known as the Print Whisperer. Check it out online, printwhisper.com. Talk about it later. Today, we have a very distinguished guest. We have a lover of print. We have an author. We have a speaker. We have a business owner. We have a father. We have a sportsman. We just got an overall great guy. And we have Phil Kelley with us today. Phil, how you doing?
Thank you, Warren. Great, man. That's a great introduction. I kind of like that.
You could copy it and use it again and again and again if you want. It'd be my pleasure.
You got it. Yes, sir.
So before we get into anything on our end, why don't you tell my growing viewer base a little bit about what you do and the company does and what the company does.
Sure. Like many people, I'm a cross between old school and new school print. So I love both sides of that equation. I am a second generation printer, grew up in the business. My father was the executive VP of both some large offset houses and some flexo houses. So I kind of grew up running around a production floor, which I always look fondly on. And the press room's still my favorite place to be these days, although I deal with bankers and lawyers as much as anybody, unfortunately, these days. But yeah, Salem Printing was founded in 1987, was a true mom and pop shop, purchased out of bankruptcy on the courthouse steps of Winston-Salem. So kind of a fun beginning. I came back and joined in 1997. Both my parents and a close friend, also a printer, Don Whitaker, started the business. And we just started going. I was not planning to stay. I was working for Georgia Tech as a consultant at the time, and I'm a rambling wreck from Georgia Tech and a hell of an engineer. So I planned to go back to Georgia, but I just love the business. I'm a problem solver by nature. Through my consulting, I was used to working with corporations and getting to solving problems for efficiency. So back in that time, in the late 90s, of course, the agencies is where the buy was. We were so small that really was not a viable business for us due to all the competition around. So we started selling to end users, to corporate buying groups. We were backup printer to RJ Reynolds and Wachovia and Haynes Brands and those times.
Small companies.
Small, yeah, but they're internal print houses. We were the backup printer to those print houses. And so we, but we started understanding big business and selling that way. We got into packaging, inline folding carton in the early 2000s, and that was a very fortunate choice. My father and I are both industrial engineers, so we like doing new things. We like figuring things out. And so we added that at a time when a quick turnaround time in folding carton was a month. We were like, a month, that's forever. So we added that, and a 2-week turnaround attracted a lot of clients, and we just took off. Really, at that time, we still have our foundation and strengths in commercial printing. And that really powered us through the 2007, 2008 challenges of that economy. Then what really changed us to what I would call new technology was my parents, like many print owners, were trying to figure out how to transition the business. As you can tell, and we've talked, I love print, I love what I do. But I had not had the experience and the risk taking that print owners take, a very capital intensive business. So I wanted to buy. Yes, we all face that. And so I wanted to buy the business from my parents, not be given it, because if I'm aggressive, I'm competitive, I don't mind failing, but I saw the risk they took to start the business. I saw them sign their house as collateral and their cars and everything they owned for collateral. And if I failed, I just didn't want the responsibility of taking that away from them. So luckily I found a partner, got in bed with some private equity, and I actually have a very positive story of that. And so that happened in 2012. a couple years later, and this is what really changed us, we acquired a direct mail data and analytics based company out of Greensboro. And that's when we changed our name to SalemOne. And so on one hand, and this is where, what does SalemOne do? Well, we do almost everything. We're kind of the opposite of the way the industry went. Everybody at that time was talking about niching out. You got to go with your niches. We never followed that road. We wanted to produce core areas such as commercial, packaging, flexo, digital, but then we wanted to be on the strategy side. And I was selling at the time, and I didn't want to talk to the buyer, the purchaser, who had to get 5 bids or 80 bids. I've literally been in the RFQs where there are 80 people. I wanted to be at the strategy table. I wanted to be, when they start talking about why are we going to print, or what initiatives are we trying to increase revenue, ROI, I always wanted to answer those questions. So that is what really has made SalemOne very different, is we're great printers. I love print. I love the physical aspect of it, but we had to take printing out of our name, which about killed me because I do love print, but we always wanted to be at the strategy table. And I'll cut this short because I'm going long. And that's why I would say we're doing so well today. Even during COVID, we've been very strong. And for the past 15 years, we've just been going very well in an industry that has had its challenges, to say the least.
Yeah, it's too bad that we didn't meet 15 years ago, because I feel like we're almost a bit of like two people with different mothers, or from the same mother that separated at birth. My philosophy was always like yours. It wasn't about niche. We started off with just small little AB Dicks, and then we went to the offset, and then 40-inch offset, and then we went into flexo. Then we went into large format and the mailing. And my thinking was the whole time was, how do I have all these disciplines, but how do I have specialists in every discipline in the building, so that when we go to a customer, we could present to take over everything they need so that we could manage their brand.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't want to talk to purchasers. We didn't like RFPs either. As a matter of fact, I didn't answer a couple, and I got blacklisted by some companies. But we had some equipment that no one else had at the time, and I wasn't giving away pricing.
Sure.
Right. But the idea back then was, if everyone's in a rush and it's about branding and color, you're going to go to 3 people for a label and a mailer and a that. Who's going to proof it all?
Sure.
And more importantly, actually, that was one end of my thinking. The other end was for the sales force to be able to go out and talk about it like that, and then have the opportunity to be different from all the other salespeople out there.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Today we tell everyone, don't say price, quality, service, because that's just the norm of what it is. I used to hate it back then.
Yeah.
And then back then they'd say, okay, take 2 out of 3.
Yes. And that was the famous saying. And of course, up until and through 2007, 8 and 8, the comeback was the client would say, well, I want all 3 or buy. And so I hated, and I went from the production side of the business to selling, and that was really a great time for me of learning and of strategy moving into leadership for those reasons that you said. I do some speaking and I like promoting our industry. So I'll ask you, we'll test your knowledge here. Are there more printers in America or more McDonald's?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to go with McDonald's.
So most people would say McDonald's. I'm sorry, there are far more printers. How about, are there more printers in America or McDonald's and Burger King's combined?
Oh, there's got to be more printers. I'm not going to get that one wrong twice.
That's right. So I've got these numbers. There are 46,000 printers in America. There's 13,400 McDonald's in America and 7,000 Burger King. So it's basically total McDonald's and Burger King's times 2. So I say, well, how far do you have to drive to get to a McDonald's or Burger King? And just think, you only have to go about half that far to get to a printer. So when I was out selling print, the last thing in the world I want to do was sell quality service price when, I mean, we're everywhere. So that's what really led me to understanding strategy and really getting into that, while making sure we had very efficient print operations across the board. You can't just do commercial or just do packaging and just do this.
By
It
the
really
way,
makes you commoditized.
do you
Yes.
know the difference between McDonald's and a printer?
What's that? Not-
Well, when a printer does something and reproduces it, it will look like the proof in what you saw before. At McDonald's, your burger never looks like the picture on the wall.
I got you. I used to have my press supervisor here used to call us mixed Salem, because sometimes printers have the same turn time requirement as a McDonald's drive-through.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. You know, you mentioned packaging before and the turnaround time. And first of all, you made the switch to packaging before most printers were even thinking about it. I think printers in the last 3 to 5 years started upping it a little when some of our markets got a little tough.
Yep.
I chuckled a little bit because going into packaging, and we did a lot of folding carton ourselves, but going into packaging is not like commercial. You need to be smart. You need to understand board, grain, where it comes from, how ink and glue adheres to it. It's not so easy finding qualified die cutters and gluers when they're working for some of the better, bigger packaging companies. And then what did we do differently? We almost ruined the packaging world a little, because like our world, they always charge plates on the side, and they charge 4 times the price of plates that printers charged.
Yep.
When printers started getting into packaging, I guess we started doing what printers do, and plates are included in the price. Like we
Sure.
killed it with the CTP, but that's another conversation.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, we're offering 2-week turnaround on packaging.
Yep.
Until we hit the bottleneck of needing to get specific board that's not so easily available, like paper, order it today, get it tomorrow.
Yep.
So lots of stuff to learn.
Yep. And the broader we've gotten, the bigger we've gotten, and the broader initiatives we've taken to add print capabilities. It's not easy to do, and I don't mean to say that. And in fact, I would caution others coming also trying to grow that path. You really do have to focus on any additional line of business you want to go into. We were fortunate in that we would follow certain close relationships. We've never been a company that wanted to quote a job for a bunch of random clients. We always wanted to get that repeat client, and we covered them up with service. They could call us 24/7 and we would do anything. And that really allowed some clients to kind of drag us along because they didn't have that go-to source. And if they would drag us, we'd say, thank you, thank you, thank you all the time. So yes, but we're very fortunate, and that business is going wonderful for us.
Yeah, and I think you nailed on the head about the repeatable and longevity of customers. I think things are slowly changing for some people now, but for the longest time, I don't think people, print companies thought like that. I thought it was just quote, go out, right? But
Sure.
I think when I look at print companies and sales, there's a couple things. Number one, it has to start at the top. So I think every owner or president, if they're working for somebody in a bigger operation, really has to lead by example, has to lead with excitement and motivation, right? Because if it doesn't trickle down I'd love to work for you, not that I could work for anybody, just because I don't follow the rules, but it has to be at the top down so that everyone's motivated in the same way. There's too many times I see salespeople out there, and how do I say this without disrespecting? They shouldn't be salespeople.
Sure. Well, I couldn't agree more. Salespeople that shouldn't be salespeople, but there's still a lot of owners or corporate structures that reward quoting. That even the Salesforce stuff. And I'm a big believer in pipelines, so I agree with your statement. I want to be respectful in this, but even so many calls a week, so many people in your pipeline that go to stage 2 and all that. And again, I'm a big pipeline process believer, but if you're doing it just for statistics, you're disincentivizing your sales force. So the company or the owner investing with the sales team, I think, is critical. Taking that anxiety off of a week or a month view. Now, sales folks do need to be motivated, and of course, it is a great paying career with success, or it should be. And I love paying successful sales folks. But it is both the salesperson and the company structure that is critical for success, especially these days.
By the way, the best salespeople, real salespeople, they don't need to be motivated. They're motivated by themselves. And I don't think we hear enough about those, because I was the type of guy where if I go out or I went out and I would close a $50,000 order, I'm juiced. I want to go back out and close 2 more, not go sit back and take it easy. I was always afraid to lose one.
Yeah.
Right? Because what did I learn? And we all learned it early on in our careers. When you sit back on your laurels and you think you're great, and it could be great, you usually lose them overnight without even seeing it happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Or person in the company changes, or I mean, that goes into the other thing about multi-level selling and knowing your customer at all levels.
Sure. Oh, well, one of the worst things to happen to a great salesperson is to get that one huge client, because the great salesperson is just what you said, but then they get that one big client who gives them repeat business, you're growing, and then you get where, wow, I'm making plenty of money, I got plenty of jobs, and you forget that love of it that created that. We talk a lot about that.
And you're not there when something changes at the customer. Listen, I say this to all salespeople. You could have great accounts. You can ride them for a year or 2, maybe 3. Just be aware, after year 3, you could lose it at any moment if you're not in good touch with them.
Sure.
If you're in touch with them, it's a lot harder, especially if you're intertwined in some of the processes you make a little complicated for someone else to start. Right.
Sure. Well,
same way when salespeople leave a company, it's not like the old days. They don't take the companies with them most of the time. Maybe they take 20, 30, 40%, maybe. Yeah. Any company that a salesperson's worked with where the company's been involved in the integration of a system or a process, companies aren't leaving what they just spent all this time and energy to do to go follow some dude or dudette.
Sure. Right? Well, something that Salem learned as we got into regional and now national clients too, is in this day of acquisitions, kind of like you said, you can have the greatest relationship in the world, and if you're on the wrong side of the acquisition, all of a sudden you're, instead of you being the it company, you're the people that were leading, they're now out. And so the acquiring company brings in who has made them successful, and you're out, and it can happen overnight. And that's happened to us several times, and that is frustrating. It's scary, but it's part of the reality.
I remember we had a customer I was doing about $2 million a year with. We had a 40-inch trailer parked outside. We would stop. It was a medical journal publication of papers, and everything was a rush. And for that business, we had a trailer waiting. We would stop other jobs, put theirs on, get it out. And I charged them nicely. Mm-hmm. But one day someone at the company thought they would check pricing. And when they went out to check pricing, they didn't tell the people that they needed a 40-foot trailer outside. Yeah. They didn't tell them they needed to stop jobs. And overnight, I lost it. Now, the other thing that happened was the company also never told me that they didn't want to work that way anymore.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And then poof, it's gone.
Yeah.
And we all got to be smart. We all got to pay attention, which is key.
Yeah.
And not take our eye off the ball. I also, in our conversation, you mentioned, because I asked you what you do with the business and different associations and what you're part of, and you brought up the Graphic Arts Alliance, which I know them a little bit, but what I do know of them is they're really an association working for print owners in the way of a buying group.
Yes. Well, and
if you could explain maybe what else they do, because
sure. No, they're basically a buying group, and there's several different groups out there that you could classify as buying groups. We've been part of Graphic Arts Alliance for several years now. We generally have not been part of those groups because we enjoy great direct relationships with our vendors. and they've been very valuable. And we've been careful. We have not wanted to take away our own power, if you will, our own pricing power, by the way some buying groups have done it. But the Graphic Arts Alliance relationship has been wonderful for Salem. It's been money we would not have seen otherwise, which is kind of a no-brainer.
It's free.
Yes. And it's reasonably substantial. And most positively, every vendor who's been part of that, they have not reacted in any way negatively. However, those relationships are, it has been seen as mutually beneficial. And again, SalemOne, the way my parents kind of started this business, and the way I've seen the printing industry from when I was a kid and took vacations with other printing families, I love the days when, yes, it's a very competitive group of people in this business, but there can be win-win-win. All boats can rise. And so we love relationships like that. And the Graphic Arts Alliance relationship has seemed like that. And so that's one of the reasons we've enjoyed it. We've been part of it. And so we are a fan.
So question, and then I'll follow up after, because I was once part of a buying group. But when you're part of that group, and they have their preferred vendors that they make the deals with for the volume, do you use all the vendors in the group? We
don't. Again, we're very SalemOne. We tell vendors who want to get in here, we're hard to get into. Just like our clients, we have to fight. Sometimes we have a 1 to 2 year sales cycle, honestly, to get into quality relationships, what we call our enterprise relationships, that we love, and it takes an investment. So we're not going to give that up. While the money coming from Graphic Arts Alliance is wonderful, it's not enough to cause us to go with one vendor or the. It may crack the door open a little bit. So I don't want to say we wouldn't listen, but we want vendors who come in and develop knowing SalemOne, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. So I too, I'm telling you, that's why I think we're related. But I too, when I joined the other group, and was a member for a long time, first thing I asked them was, do I need to use all your suppliers? Because I have suppliers I'm not deviating from. And I could tell you a company like Fuji, for 24 years, once I made a switch to them, I never switched again anything. Jerry Leclerc at the time was my rep, and we had a couple amazing, all of them. I never changed plates for $1.
Sure,
with
absolutely.
The plates comes the chemistry. With the chemistry comes redoing your certifications. But I'm a big believer in life. If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Sure.
Right.
Well, yeah.
And I used the other vendors, and I was quite happy that no one was really annoyed with me. But I say to everybody, you have to look at your business first before you look at the dollar, because sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the dollar.
Agree. And we SalemOne, I do want that vendor with the truck outside. Like you said, service is everything to us. Fuji is a fantastic example of a company, and the sales rep Grady has known us for decades. And I can call him in a minute and he'll be here in as quick as he can get here, or someone from Fuji will be here. So that service is everything. We do want to negotiate the overall contract or agreement very positively, and you got to be aggressive and all that. But we want to do business with our vendors like our clients do business with us. And so again, those vendors that have been part of Graphic Arts Alliance have seemed to be those companies that know how to partner as well.
And I think at the end of the day, our customers, us, and our vendors all need to make a little bit of money along the way, right?
Never apologize for making profit.
Oh my God, I'm so happy you said that.
Your profit. This is a capital intensive business, and these days it's a knowledge intensive business. And we'll talk about my book in a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the book after. That's why now that I'm doing the Print Whisper, I have to remember that I can't talk to people unless they pay me, because I have everything up here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And
Except I like to talk for free, so I'm having a bit of a problem in building my new business.
that's what that logo is for. So, printing is now, and I believe this, and I talk about this, the physical act of putting print or toner or inkjet or latex or whatever the ink technology you want to talk about on paper, most anybody can do that. And I still take great pride in that. And again, the journeyman craftsmen, I just love those folks. But any company that is only selling that these days is struggling and likely going out of business. You've got to get on the strategy side and the profit side. And that doesn't mean you're going to charge outsized prices. The market won't allow that. But it does, if you want to hire knowledge sets people, if you want to buy new equipment, if you want to invest in new things, data and analytics world, if you want to link to this thing right here, while have it not dominate your life and drive you out of business, instead promote your business. You've really got to get into that and charge for it and make a profit. So and printers are in the best position of any manufacturing group I know of to do just that.
Well, I don't know how our industry turned into a race to the bottom line, or how it started exactly. I had a customer not long ago when I was in the company selling, and me being me, maybe talk a little differently than others, but I'd go into someone and I've said it before, we quoted a $10,000 job, and the customer says to me, well, you got to be able to do better. Yeah. And I go, why? Why? Because it's $10,000?
Yeah.
No. I said, let me ask you this question. The job is selling at $10,000. We're making $1,875 net. That's 18% after overhead. I said, but of my $1,800, how much would you like back?
Yeah.
And he said to me, is that all you make? And I went, yeah. I said, the paper's about 30% to 40%, depending on what we're doing. We've got the labor. I said, the guys on the press are $30 an hour. You got a feeder and a pressman. I said, so, what do you want? And then at the end, he was like, wow, I didn't realize it. So I then learned that we need to speak a little bit more to our customers about what's involved, because they'll spend $6 on a coffee at Starbucks and not think twice.
Sure. Well, the average printer in America makes under 1% profit. And
always.
No, yes, always. So no, that's not my goal. And if you're a business, you're not going to grow vibrantly or aggressively with that. You're not going to be able to hire skill sets, thinkers, strategy thinkers.
No, but your goal should be able to make more money than you would in that little savings account that pays no interest.
That's true. 1% is better these days than you get in the bank.
Right.
But it's just, that's not, again, 3 or 4 years ago, I was chairman of PICA, printing industry of the Carolinas, and we've talked about this. I was tired of going to meetings, whether nationally or locally, and it was just depressing to go to these meetings, So I created a presentation called "Now is the Best Time to Be a Printer ... ever," and that kind of raised some eyebrows, and it was well received. And I've talked about what I call the little p printing industry, as defined nationally, is only a $75 billion industry, and it's flat to declining. That's still a sizable industry, and that's the turning of all these big hunks of metal. But I believe we are now, that has become part of what I call corporate communications. SalemOne, now part of our company is now into data and analytics and variable direct mail. Well, I get to compete against other IT organizations, data analytic companies, agency companies. Well, that's another $300 or $400 billion industries. I now, as what I call a big P printer, and now I don't even use the word print anymore, as the strategy guy, I'm boldly putting myself there as the expert strategically, who also has the ability to execute it. And that is where the manufacturing side, being great at execution, along with strategy, who's going to beat me? Because I get
and all of that
areas
equals the most important thing in business, and that's margin.
Amen. Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Fulfillment, you make more money than print if you're not charging enough for your print. I mean, people I see used to advertise 10 cents a copy for a colored sheet. And I'm like, well, yeah, okay, so it cost you 5, you're getting 10, but you forgot the paper, the pressman space, you forgot the rent, you forgot the electricity, you forgot your medical insurance. Like, it's really 38 cents a sheet.
Sure. Well, and everybody forgets to pay for their press or their next press.
Right.
No, you buy that $1 million press or 2 million or 3 million or 5 million or whatever it is, or 300,000 if you're small or whatever. And you go and you charge the budgeted hourly rates. I'm a big believer in those, by the way, for a few years while you pay it off. And then once you pay it off, you go, oh, okay, well, let's reduce our prices. You're crazy, you know, because you've got to, SalemOne, we've always invested our profitability back into new equipment and maintaining at the forefront of that.
I remember
without that margin, you're not going to get there.
I remember we bought some new presses, but I had a 2006 color, a 40-inch Mitsubishi on the floor for about 18, 19 years, paid off. I was still getting and charging the $280 an hour plus markup, so $350 an hour.
Yeah, sure.
And salespeople would come to me and say, well, you know, we should lower. I go, no, right? Yeah. I said, give me part of your house if you want to lower it.
Oh, sure.
Everyone just thinks it's free, but it's not.
Sure. Oh, I mean, we started, we built, you know, my parents risked everything. We had a 2-color Mealy. 2029 was our big press.
With the two shelves, like one unit here and the second one down there.
And we'd sell 6-color work and
3 times through the press.
You know, and then we bought a relatively inexpensive Shinohara press, 2329, and then we went to a man roll in 2329 before we got to our 40-inch Kamoris. And you know, if we had not maintained those rates that were not covering labor and covering the sales percentage, you know, whenever the printer, Big P printer, steps off that road of charging margin, they have doomed themselves to being the little P printer till they don't exist. And I do think little P printers can step up to that big print P world any day. If we all will just realize, we all deal with clients. I mean, we are ultimately problem solvers. That's one of the things I love about print. Every job has a problem that's got to be fixed.
Nothing's easy in our world.
No, every job's got a due date that's impossible, and the world's going to end if you don't meet it. And who gets the least amount of time at the very end? It's the printer, you know. So we're natural problem solvers, and we've seen through our clients, we see all kind of marketing initiatives and ROI questions. And I used to sit in these meetings and I would listen to other experts. And I'm the printer, I'm not supposed to answer these questions. And I would just go, you know, I'm sitting in these meetings and these answers are not as good as I can give. And not only can I give the strategy, I can then execute it and make it happen. So very humbly, I do recommend doing it humbly, but by humbly putting forward and say, you know, have you thought about this? And by the way, I can also measure on the back end to answer your ROI question. A lot of folks on the marketing side of the world go, well, I hate talking about marketing allocation questions and the dreaded ROI question. I don't
talk about it all.
I'll answer. I'll talk about it, answer it, define it. Let's measure it. You're crazy to spend money and not measure the results of it. We do a lot of testing on the direct marketing side, data side, and it's a fun world right now. I've always enjoyed print, but there's plenty of challenges of business right now. I won't say it's the funnest time.
But there's always challenges in print and every other business.
Well said.
I think sometimes we forget that other businesses have challenges too.
Yes, amen. Well said. Well
right.
said. And
I don't want to stop you, but we could talk all afternoon. I'm just afraid no one's going to listen to us after a little while. But the one thing that I did want to do was I wanted to bring up your book. You see the book on the screen?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, good, because I don't know how to work all this technology here.
Yeah.
So basically, I want to let everyone know the name of the book is Presence and Profitability. You'll give us a 1-minute summary of it. It's available at Amazon. You could look at my screen. If you're in the printing industry, God help you if you buy the Kindle version. I'll find you and I'll cut you up into little shreds of pieces and put you in the shredder. You must buy the hardcover because you have to give some printer another chance to survive. That's the other thing I look at. Every piece of print we buy, we're helping somebody. So even your bank statements, tell the bank you want the statements, you don't want an email. Little things like that help our industry, folks. Anyways, tell us a little bit, Phil, about the book.
Sure. Well, obviously, I'm excited to publish my first book, Presence and Profitability. Again, I talked a little bit about my presentation. Now's the best time to be a printer ever. And that really got me thinking. I've wanted us to redefine our industry. I think we're part of something I'm calling corporate communication industry, which I believe is $1 trillion industry. And this book is not written about being a printer. It really talks about the technology and reality of human and corporate communications. It talks about it historically. We're in a very strange time where definitions of communications are changing. You know, everybody knows sitting around your table with your kids now, if you say some words that you're used to saying, they now will tell you you're evil. So word definition.
Or you're using the wrong word because it doesn't mean the same thing anymore.
Exactly. And of course, I always talk about this cell phone. I think print really messed up by years ago when online was saying print is dead, and print kind of responded, no, we're not. Don't use that online stuff. It's just a new world of communication. So the book really talks about human communications in a historical context, but then it's about making money. I'm a no-nonsense businessman. I don't believe in the feel-good side of communication, although we're humans, that there is something that feels good.
Well, I feel good when I'm making money in that field.
Exactly. So this book does challenge corporate decision-making and individuals wanting to climb that corporate ladder. So I'm excited to put it out there. I do think printers, again, this is not from the print perspective, I do think printers have a very unique opportunity and skill set to dominate this industry I'm calling corporate communications. I don't think anybody that's stuck in printing is not stepping forth to take advantage of all their expertise that they have to bring to this market. So anyway, you'll have to read the book. I'm not going to give it away.
Yeah, good.
It's an easy read. At the same time, it is based in human psychology, history, and the realities of the day. And they're big companies making big mistakes. I use an example in here of the McDonald's versus Chick-fil-A reality. You know, McDonald's has gotten extremely efficient in their transaction. If you go in, you don't talk to a human being. You might in that little microphone as you do the drive-through, and they shove the food through the little door. If you go to Chick-fil-A, they've literally knocked out the wall in the drive-through with a group of kids, smiling kids that seem happy no matter what day it is, with iPads, who greet you. And I talk about, they put their brand elbow on the side of your car. And if you walk in there, you even get the older lady or gentleman giving you a breath mint before you leave, saying, have a great day. You know, that
all those little things.
And those things still matter. Too many of us, no matter what industry you're talking about, retail or manufacturing, we're forgetting that as humans, we are created to have relationships. And that is what leads to profit. That's not a feel-good statement. It's what leads to profit. So anyway, that's
we could do a whole discussion on relationships, because I don't think most people truly understand what a relationship is, either with your client, with the company, or with different levels within the company.
I agree.
Right? Okay, we're not going to go there. We've had a good run.
Okay.
So we're going to pick up another conversation in the next little while again.
Okay.
Great topic. Great call. I think we're on almost 45 minutes, 50 minutes would probably be my longest, but seems like the shortest. So I hope any of the other people I interviewed with aren't offended by what I just said. And if you are, it's just too bad. To everybody else, listen, remind you to go to my YouTube channel, remind you to check out my website, The Print Whisper. Go check out SalemOne's website. They've got a really nice website. Phil, are you good if people want to reach out to you for a little chat, learn something?
Absolutely. And by the time this airs, as I understand, I'll have my own website up, philkelleyjr.com, where you can order the book or get to Amazon or any other way. I'll also have some t-shirts, and I look forward to talking as well. Like you, I like promoting the industry. I like talking to strategic thinkers in big groups, one-on-one. I love that kind of back and forth as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, salem-one.com. SalemOne's all about strategy and then making sure your results, the reason you spent money, occurs. Again, too many of us, we're not satisfied when the print is done and delivered. Did it execute the way it was supposed to? So love.
I was always happy anytime a job went out and we never heard from the customer. We just got paid.
Yeah, not me.
Right?
I
like to hear, but sometimes the phone rings when you ship a job. You're like, oh no.
I want to hear their stock call, quarterly stock call, and they said their direct mail led the highest revenues they've ever had.
Actually, best phone call when you deliver a job is the one that they say, thank you.
I hear you.
Right?
That too, yes.
Okay, to everybody, thank you for watching, continuing to watch Warren Werbitt, Print Whisper, for what they think. And I love print.